and welcome to Murder Dictionary Podcast. My name is Brianna, and that is Kelly.
Hey.
Before we get started, we always wanted to remind you of a few things that you'll find in our description and show notes for every episode. You will always find links to our resources for research in case you want to follow up, do a little bit more reading, watch a documentary.
And now, a thought from Geico Motorcycle.
It took 15 minutes to take a spirit animal quiz online.
Please be the cheetah. Please be the cheetah.
And learn your animal isn't the cheetah, but the far less appealing blobfish.
Oh, come on.
To add insult to injury, you could have used those 15 blobfish minutes to switch your motorcycle insurance to Geico.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on motorcycle insurance.
Whatever it is, we'll provide that info in the show notes. We also put in some links for resources for domestic violence, CPS, 12-step programs, anti-bullying resources, suicide hotlines, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Just in case you need those resources, then we put them in the show notes as well. Each episode, we will also put links to our social media so that you can follow us there and get updates on new episodes, Patreon bonuses, memes, a bunch of funny stuff. Our preference is posting funny stuff. So if you like to laugh at true crime, definitely follow us on social media. And then the last thing you'll find in the show notes is going to be links to our Patreon and links to our Threadless. So if you want small merch items like some stickers, condoms, a note from us, postcard, whatnots, you can get that on Patreon as well as bonus episodes. You can also get larger items like some t-shirts, mugs, stuff like that, phone cases on our Threadless.
I cracked my Museum of Death mug.
No. So you got to replace it with a Murder Dictionary mug.
And we got to go back to the Museum of Death.
Oh, that too. For sure.
Yeah, just need all the mugs.
So we wanted to say thank you to a few new Patreon supporters that we have this week. We want to say thank you to Melissa, Brittany, Emily, and Sam.
Didn't last week I say that no Brittany's ever?
You did? I don't remember
like
that.
Second in a row. I was like, there's no Brittany's. Sam.
So thanks again to Melissa, Brittany, Emily, and Sam for their support on Patreon.
Melissa, Brittany, Emily, and Sam. Thanks, guys.
So with all that said, I think we can get started on our story. Unless you have any news for me.
The gardener's behind you again.
Like, how does that keep happening? He has to walk around the entire place. How does he get there so quickly?
Magic.
What the fuck? Wow.
No new news. Still not pregnant, so,
Perfect.
Catch you next week.
Making you a cum pirate is really working out.
P for pirate. What are we on today? What letter are we on today?
We are on letter Z, part 1.
Oh.
It's the last letter of the alphabet. So we're almost finished with the first season.
That's amazing.
Which has been incredibly long. Like most podcasts are just like, yeah, let's do 2 months and then we're done with the season.
I like it. I like it
like
long.
A year and a half or more.
Like a long, hard, and stretched out.
Yes. Well, I don't know about the stretched out parts. I was down to agree with you, but then you lost me there. Yeah, so, I mean, after we do a couple Z episodes, then we're going to take a little break. But I've already got bonuses written for the break, so we'll still be putting shit out.
No real
break. They just won't be going through letters in the same way.
Just
and then we'll go back to A for season 2. That'll be like another 5 years.
Start it up again. I'm excited.
Yeah. So we are doing Zealots for letter Z. So religious-based murders.
Okay.
Or anybody that's fanatical about their religion and ends up murdering someone.
Okay. All I know is the Fuji song. That's it. Another MC losing line. Oh.
You are my favorite vocalist.
Fucking songbird.
So this week we are talking about Robert Louis Deer, which already sounds like a Jesus name. Like your last name is Deer. I don't know. There's something about it.
She went straight to tractor. So that guy's on top of a tractor.
That's totally not what I thought at all. So Robert Louis Deer was born in Charleston, South Carolina. His family actually moved to Louisville, Kentucky when he was really, really young. So he didn't grow up in South Carolina. But although he grew up in Kentucky, for him, it never really felt like home, which is really weird because he was a baby when he lived there. He felt a lot more connected to South Carolina, and it'll be reflected like in his adult years, how connected he felt to it, which is odd. Like, I don't feel connected to where I lived when I was 5.
No, I didn't even know where I lived.
Right.
It was
like,
completely...
no awareness whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just something worth noting.
Yeah, there were no boundaries. It was all just one big land, right?
Yeah, this is just where I live. I don't know. I had no concept of a city or a state.
Totally.
Yeah, but for some reason he did. And so, I don't know. There's something off about that to me.
Yeah.
Like, what kid really gets preoccupied with that?
This kid is too aware, and that's off-putting.
Right.
He's too
Chill
smart.
out, kid.
Yeah.
So Robert's father was a graduate of Citadel, which is Charleston's really famous public military college. And his father was a Navy veteran who served in World War II. And he worked for the Leggett and Myers Tobacco Company for 40 years. Robert was raised very military style upbringing. You can imagine just like making your bed every morning, keeping your hair cut tight, you know.
So super disciplined.
Very, very. Okay. Yeah, it was very strict moral kind of stuff.
That can go both ways. It's like really good or really bad.
Right. If there's no sort of mental health challenges, and I don't know, there's other factors, of course. If everything is kind of healthy, that's fine having them have a little structure. Mm-hmm. But when it's not exactly right, it goes terribly wrong, right?
Absolutely.
So he was also raised Baptist, but he wasn't a regular churchgoer in his adulthood. I think that's also something you find in common with zealots, is it's not necessarily that they're always going to church. They're just fanatical about the literature of that religion. Does that make sense?
No,
like you hear people kind of ranting about what Jesus thinks, but they're not necessarily churchgoers, which I don't know, I find interesting.
That's funny that the people who focus more just on the ideas instead of just going and being part of community and just being part of like the process or whatever.
Yeah,
any type
like
of
the fellowship
ceremonies.
of being in a church.
Yeah,
you
being
know?
more active would make you closer with people instead of just alienating yourself and focusing on exact words. I hate when people are just word for word translating.
Yes, they get very hung up on semantics, these zealots.
Especially because it was passed down, you know, and rewritten. So
yeah, it makes it lose a lot of its meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he basically believed wholeheartedly in the Bible, which shaped a lot of his morals and views about the world. But he didn't necessarily present himself as obsessed with the book or anything alarming kind of at the time in his youth and early adulthood. Robert went on to earn a degree in public administration from Midwestern College. Then he moved back to South Carolina and became an art dealer. So he never really got it out of his head that South Carolina was a place to be. And so in his adulthood, he moved back there. Why does my mouth not work?
it sounds like you're from Africa. Mamba.
What's
Hee
happened to
I
my
love
face?
it. I don't know.
I lost complete control of my mouth.
I really appreciate
The past
it.
5 sentences
Mamba.
have been nothing but difficult.
Your backtrack is like, when you hear yourself, it's so good. Yeah.
I know. That's the fun thing about a podcast is nobody can see your face. And you and I make the weirdest faces at each other.
So good. Oh, man.
So Robert had his own business where he usually dealt art with a very strong Southern theme from, of course, the place that he was kind of obsessed with, South Carolina.
Can I get a dub sack of art, please?
It's got that Art Connect.
Oh, that's not how you sell it? Okay.
Those are not the increments.
Funny that, I mean, it's not funny, but just nobody's college degree does anything with what they do in life.
Never.
It really does.
Never.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like completely irrelevant
Yeah.
to your future. Of course, now that I say that, there's going to be a bunch of people that are like, no, I actually do.
I'm a lawyer and a doctor, but those people don't count.
That's
obviously.
it. That's
if you're
the
going to go
only
to secondary
thing.
school, yeah. If you're going to go to college, of course, or a master's, get your master's or doctorate.
Right.
You know.
So he worked with Southern artists who painted specifically Charleston street scenes, Old South plantations, magnolias, and pictures of that Citadel military college where his dad went.
So he's really into his town or into his state. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like almost preoccupied or obsessed with just South Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah. So he would basically strike deals with various artists where he bought their paintings and then would commission like 1,000 prints and sell those prints and keep the profits. Robert married Pamela Ross in 1984. They had a child, and Pamela says basically he was a really great father. He was really dedicated, always showed up, a great role model, and he spent a lot of time with his kid. Robert also enjoyed a lot of hobbies on his own. He really liked exercising. He worked out a lot. He ate really healthy. He liked hunting, riding motorcycles. He also painted himself, and he listened to a lot of music. He was generally pretty conservative, and he kept guns in his home for personal protection and also for hunting.
Yahoo!
America. It's the 4th.
It is.
You're already like, have you been
So
hearing
good.
all the fireworks too? 'Cause
Yeah,
we live
love
in
it.
neighborhoods where they just light them off, like
Yeah.
starting in June.
We do. You have a dog though, and that's why you can tell all the
Well,
time.
he just gets really cute. He just kind of like hides next to me and kind of looks around like, you're going to put a stop to this, right? And I'm like, yeah, I got this. Don't worry, Henry. We're good.
Do you pull out your gun and then end the fireworks?
I shoot my gun. I do like a house pop, a living room pop into the air. And then he just chills out.
Okay.
He's
yeah.
like, this is normal. Business as usual.
oh, it's bedtime.
That's like his lullabies. Some just little shots into the air.
He's just Zing away.
So even though he was a little bit of a gun nut, one of those kind of people, he wasn't necessarily preoccupied with politics, because you see sometimes that goes hand in hand, you know? But for him, it was just like, well, I like my hunting. I like to have guns for personal protection, but I'm not going to be like
Extreme
out
about
there,
it.
yeah, being
Yeah.
extreme and protesting and whatever.
They're just hobbies, pretty
Yes,
much.
yeah.
Nothing too serious. Not affecting his life, not changing or ruining anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
However, he was a little bit more vocal about his religious views. And he often told people how he had read the Bible from cover to cover and kind of use it to make certain points. He would quote the Bible and whatnot.
I did too. The children's Bible, though, is way easier.
The Precious Moments Bible.
I swear to God, it had pictures and everything.
I've had one of those too.
So good.
My grandparents have this trick where they just send me Bibles for different occasions because they're really concerned about my soul. So all throughout my life, they'll send me various Bibles. I've gotten quite a few of those children's Bibles.
Like, were they cool Bibles, or just like, did they change the look of them, or was just the same Bible?
Well, you know how they try and make the Bible really cool? So you would have, like, as you were little, like, they'd have the Veggie Tales Bible and then the Precious Moments Bible. And then, then I don't even remember what the teenage one was called. But, like, they try and update it and make it all hip
Yeah.
and current.
New Kids on the Bible?
Yeah. Backstreet Bible. They try and lure you in, and see Bible. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't remember what it was called, but they just kept trying to get me. It's just like, no, I'm familiar with the book. That's
No, I
why
know
I'm
it.
not all for it. I get it. See, what you don't understand is the Bible hates me, but I'm not
Yeah.
coming out to you. So
Yeah. Like, hates me for different reasons, not just one reason,
yeah, so
you know?
many things I'm doing wrong. So many. But you don't know me well enough, because
Yeah.
I just won't let you, because then you'll hate me. So
I spit on your mic. I'm so sorry. I just need to. So sorry. I gotta stop.
that's why, that's your pot filter.
Oh,
So
okay.
It's you can spit on it all you want. You can slob on it. You can glut, glut,
Slob,
glut,
I'm a
glut
no.
all over.
Cool. I can spit on you. You're mine. Did you hear
Do
her?
a two-handed stroke and all
Wait,
sorts
I don't
of
know how to
stuff.
do that. Do you?
No.
How do you do hand stroke?
You look like a skull and crossbones. No, it's just, like
Like a salt and pepper shaker.
Exactly.
Okay. Do you go one here? Oh. Do I meet in the
That's
middle?
why you shouldn't do physical humor. Because you end up punching things for no reason. That Mike did nothing wrong
We're
to
good. No, you're right. You're right.
you.
Meh.
So Robert's wife, Pamela, says, quote, He claims to be a Christian and is extremely evangelistic, but does not follow the Bible in his actions. He says that as long as he believes he will be saved, he can do whatever he pleases.
My brother used to do the same thing. Just go crazy, do drugs on the weekend, just punch people. And he's like, I went to church on Sunday.
Right.
It's all good.
That's one of my big problems with religion. I think a lot of people are like that.
It doesn't just excuse. It's not like a get out of jail free card.
Right. You don't just like wash everything away that happened. You're still the same asshole that did the same fucked up shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She also said he is obsessed with the world coming to an end. So he seemed to be obsessed with the apocalypse and sort of that biblical end of the world.
That's
kind
so
of thing.
Stressful.
Right? Like I have enough anxiety just about like shit that I said 5 years ago. Like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
That makes no sense and keeps me up at night. I could never be preoccupied with the end of the world.
Like,
it would kill me.
Would I care about bills or anything? Would I care about... I mean, it might
right,
free
like
you.
it doesn't matter because
Yeah.
the world's going to end.
Fuck it. Yeah. Maybe we should try it?
I know. This might be a good philosophy for us.
I'm going to get us Bibles.
Don't worry, I've got enough for the both of us. I got you covered. So Robert's religious views made him extremely pro-life. He even praised people who attacked abortion providers, saying that they were doing, quote, God's work.
So much wrong. I don't know what to say.
Later, Robert would say that his heroes were members of the Army of God. And the Army of God is this loosely organized group of anti-abortion extremists. And they've done numerous killings and bombings against family planning doctors and clinics. So Pamela says that Robert had even carried out his own kind of minor attacks on Planned Parenthood clinics that were local before, where he had put glue on their locks so that they couldn't open the doors for the day. So it kind of effectively shut down business for them very briefly, but nothing super violent.
He's like a 12-year-old boy pranking people.
Yeah.
Or just a 12-year-old prankster.
It sounds like a very immature
Yeah.
sort of terrorism.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't violent or anything, even though his heroes were doing violent acts. But it was still enough to where, that is something against them, It's
Actually-
not like I would go put glue on a lock. You know what I mean? That's fucked up.
You know what? I'll take that over getting bombed.
Oh,
Let's do that. I'll
fuck
take some
yeah.
glue.
Of course. Of course. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but he was trying to do something. He was trying to come up with creative ways to fuck with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Pamela says Robert had some issues with anger, and sometimes he got quite upset with her. Usually his sort of MO would be to lash out at her and then immediately apologize. He was one of those like very quick cycle of abuse kind of people. So they'd get in a fight. He would be really aggressive with her, yell at her and whatnot. And then right away it was flowers and chocolates, apologies, and all that bullshit. In May 1991, Robert was arrested and convicted in Charleston for the unlawful carrying of a, quote, long blade knife and illegal possession of a loaded gun. I don't know what the size of the blade was, but he definitely had weapons that he wasn't supposed to have. In 1997, Robert locked Pamela out of their house during a fight. Then she attempted to get back inside, at which point Robert actually pushed her out of a window.
Excuse me? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
This is why you keep those pet rocks. No, not a pet rock. The rocks that slide open. with
Right.
The key.
The hide-a-key
Yeah.
rocks.
Or a real rock to throw through the window before you jump through it. In case he's waiting to push you out.
In a pinch, a real rock will work. Just in case you guys didn't know how to get back into your own house. Yeah, so he pushed her out, and then the police arrived, and Pamela said that she didn't want to file charges, but she simply wanted something on record of the incident occurring. And she must have been thinking ahead, because if she needed a restraining order or something for divorce proceedings or whatnot, to kind of establish a pattern of violence,
She knew what the future was.
Yeah, she was prepping
be.
for a legal fight. You don't
Yeah.
do that if you have a healthy relationship.
Yeah, and it probably wasn't the first time he's pushed her out a window trying to get in her house.
Yeah.
So
Or something.
or something similar. Locked her out.
Yeah.
Something
so
petty.
There are no real records of other violence occurring in the relationship, but I mean, we can kind of assume that if it happened once, it probably wasn't the only time, especially if she did say certain things about him having anger issues, you know? Even though there's no record, it's kind of safe to assume it happened.
Her assumption wouldn't just be based off that one incident.
Right.
So.
Yep. So in 2000, they divorced. And after the divorce, Robert moved to North Carolina and took custody of their son, who was 12 at the time. Pamela said that she was confident that he was being a really good parent and he was a really positive male role model. Robert did his best to be a good single parent, even though it was difficult, and he spent a lot of time with his son. The thing that they loved to do most together was hunt. Pamela said that she only talked to Robert a few times after the divorce, which seems a little crazy that they had a kid and they weren't even talking. But it seemed like they probably, you know, honestly put their kid in the middle and had the kid do all the communication.
Yeah, or had a schedule, you know, a really set schedule that maybe they didn't.
Where they,
didn't divert
everything
from.
was already prearranged or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So after his son became an adult and moved out, Robert moved into a succession of trailers and motorhomes. In all the places that he lived, he seemed to have kind of a knack for causing controversy and making enemies. So there's a few police reports indicating some run-ins and complaints with neighbors. An anonymous neighbor had complained about Robert's treatment of his dog specifically. Robert believed that a writer named Leland Davis had been the one to anonymously report him. That was what he suspected. So as a result, Robert began following Leland around town and using kind of stalking techniques to intimidate him.
That's not going to stop the calls.
Right. It already happened. There's nothing you can do about it. But yeah, he was just trying to scare him.
And what is he doing to his dog that people have to report?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So Leland said that Robert followed him all the way down to downtown Asheville, which was quite a distance, he says. He followed me 3 or 4 times, according to Leland. Leland said that they never actually had a conversation, but he knew that Robert was following him around, and it was super obvious, and he was trying to scare him.
Sounds like it worked a little bit. I'd be
yeah,
a little
it's fucking terrifying.
weirded out.
Yeah, if someone's following you, you know, for a long period of time, you're driving, 20 miles or something, and they're still following you.
Yeah, they're willing to waste gas on you.
They're dedicated to that mission, so it's scary. In 2002, a neighbor named Lynn Roberts said that Robert was, quote, making unwanted advancements and leering at her on a regular basis. She said that she was in fear for her safety. And after making these complaints, she even found him in her bushes peering into her window.
Nope.
So that's, of course, when she got police involved. So Robert was charged, but the charge was later dismissed. However, there was a restraining order put in place. So later on, he moved to a remote yellow shack in Black Mountain, North Carolina. From the way that the locals spoke about the town, it seems like it was definitely a place where people went to kind of get away from it all. And beyond that, they kind of wanted to hide and be alone. It was definitely somewhere where people went to just be in the middle of nowhere.
Have you seen Ozark? Just reminds me of that.
I know you've told me about it, but no, I haven't.
Same type of thing. Yeah.
So you had to drive many miles on really remote mountain roads, like unpaved roads, to get to where he lived at the time. His home was basically a padlocked shed that was filled with a bed, gas canisters, cases of beer, and no running water.
It does sound like he's waiting for the apocalypse, though.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it sounds like paradise.
Kind of.
No, yeah, it does sound like he's a prepper.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that he had at the shack that wasn't completely utilitarian was 2 sticks that made into a little cross as a decoration. And I use the word decoration very loosely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So over the years, Robert turned into a complete loner. Neighbors said the only companion that he had was this really scraggly, unhealthy-looking dog. And I'm assuming it's the dog from the report.
The one that he abuses, obviously.
Yeah.
See, I would want like the whole Disney thing. Like when I open my windows, there's just birds coming in to say hi to me in the forest.
Little deers walking around.
Yeah.
They look up with leaves still hanging in their mouth.
Good morning, Kels.
Yeah, rabbits.
Yeah.
I know. It sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
If you're not a complete crazy zealot that
Yeah.
is about to be violent.
Mm.
You and me could go live in a shack.
Cool.
So he purposely chose places to live that were very off the grid and largely disconnected. So the only social interaction that he would have at this time would be online.
Oh, so his son's adult now. He's an adult now, so he doesn't need to do anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just out there on his own.
Huh.
So his online profiles were found on various websites, and he'd been seeking out bondage and sadomasochistic sex online. He also said that he wanted to find women to smoke weed with.
I'm so confused by the Bible thing because this is all cool.
That's, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I guess the Bible's full of like BDSM stuff, flogging.
But I also think that people that are religious are just, they're not perfect.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think it's what we mentioned earlier. It's not that he's not doing those things.
Yeah.
It's just that he thinks that being religious makes him free and clear of any wrongdoing.
True.
You know, he's basically got immunity with Jesus.
Sign me up.
So, however, even though it seemed like he was just kind of this normal guy looking for certain sexual things or whatever, he did get a little bit weird in some of his online interactions.
Oh, now he gets weird.
Well, I don't necessarily think it's weird to be like, hey, I'm seeking out BDSM. Like, consenting adults, like, you go look for things and, hey, I want
Totally.
someone to smoke with and fuck.
Yeah.
Totally not weird. It is weird that he's so religious because
Yeah.
those things don't really add up.
I meant the gluing of the locks and the parental Planned
Oh.
Parenthood. I don't mind the weed and the.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Here's where it gets weird. So on cannabis.com, Robert said, quote, AIDS, hurricanes, we're in the end times. Accept Lord Jesus while you can. Turn to Jesus or burn in hell. Wake up, sinners. You can't save yourself. You will die as worms shall eat your flesh. Now your soul is going somewhere. And he does that thing that crazy people often do where they capitalize some words.
Oh.
And just like weird, like I understand why Jesus would be capitalized, but then I don't know. It's just using you instead of YOU. It's just
Oh.
like, I'm not going to take you seriously unless you're
Yeah.
Prince. Prince can do that,
Mhm.
but you ain't Prince.
No, not at all. And I didn't know he was a poet. I mean, this is.
He's my favorite haiku artist.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like a haiku. It's, that's really creepy. And why would you like what a fucking
I feel
a
like
burn or just like a
and mildly threatening. I just like, I don't appreciate how religion is often very threatening, and
Yeah.
religious people become threatening because the Bible is kind of a scary thing. It's kind of a large fucking horror story shit show.
he's a Bible buzzkill. That's what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. This shit it's too much, you know? You will die as worms shall eat your flesh. It's
Well,
just,
duh. We
but
know
I mean,
that.
that's the kind of thing that you could find in the Bible. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, it's very dark. It's very violent.
Mhm.
But then people who are zealots just, then they start talking that way. And it's like, it doesn't matter if you have the Bible behind it. Listen to yourself. You sound like a fucking murderer.
Yeah.
Period.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's things that we know are going to happen anyways. It's just why bring that up? Why bring death? I don't know. I think it's a tool of fear, kind
Yes.
of, right?
Oh,
To
totally.
intimidate you and scare you. And then he's always pushing the end of days. So,
Yeah. And if you're following the Bible, which in and of itself is a tool of fear,
Yeah.
period,
Mhm.
then you become that person that uses tools of fear.
Yep.
Yeah. Creepy. So although he was really opinionated and forward with people online, in person he was still really closed off and guarded and kind of shy. So a neighbor, 58-year-old Van Wans, said that he, quote, preferred to be left alone.
He has a neighbor?
Yeah, I mean, we're
Like-
talking about again,
far.
yeah, like miles away down the unpaved road. But yeah, I've got a few things that neighbors have said about him.
Okay.
People that lived in the area, locals, we should say.
There we go.
Probably not neighbors,
I
but
mean-
locals. So another next door neighbor, right next door, John Hood, said that Robert hardly ever spoke with him. But when he did, he would offer nonsensical advice. For example, he recommended that John put a metal roof on his house so that the government couldn't spy on him.
Oh, man.
So he was one of those people, like, usually he didn't talk, but when he did, you were like, okay, shut up. Like, can you go back to not talking?
Puff, puff, pass, dude.
Exactly.
Just stop.
So other neighbors said that he hid food in the woods like a survivalist. So he was kind of prepper.
Sounds like he wants to die from getting eaten by a bear.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
That's the way you do it?
You just hide food everywhere, and then they come, and then they maul you.
Suicide by bear?
Yep.
Yeah. Jamie Heffelman, who works at the Highline Cafe and Saloon, which was the only Tiny Towns restaurant, so everybody came there, she said that he was very quiet. Although he was a regular, because it was the only option in town, he never spoke to anybody. Even though there was, it was a place where most people would come to socialize, because that was kind of the only interactions that they had, because it was so remote. He was very notably not talking to anybody.
Like, why would you show up to not talk
just
to people?
stay home.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would think that he didn't have groceries.
True.
He had to go somewhere. And even if he wasn't there every day, it was notable that this really quiet guy would walk in, not talk to anybody, where the rest of the bar, the rest of the cafe was there to kind of get their only social interaction.
Yeah, you think you jump at something like that. If that's your only social. I'll do 5 minutes talking to my neighbor on the next mountain.
We'll catch up about the weather and how the Dodgers are doing. Fuck it.
I'll put down my SpaghettiOs, my survivalist SpaghettiOs, and go hang out.
Shows up with his own can of beans and just cranks it open and eats it cold with a spoon.
His homemade beer. Just rotting juice.
Jamie said he never interacted with anyone. He would just come in here, eat and drink, and never caused any problems. He would just order his food and kept to himself. He was very pleasant. He never spoke about politics or anything like that. Although a lot of people said that he wasn't very openly opinionated about his politics, there were other people that had completely different interactions with him that were the opposite. One of his neighbors named Zygmunt Post, who lived about a half mile from his cabin, said he had only met him a few times, but he had a brief conversation about politics when his dogs got loose on Robert's property. So when he went to retrieve his dogs, Robert gave him political pamphlets that criticize President Obama.
It's weird that he gets pamphlets in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, where did you get those from?
Yeah.
It's not like you could print them out on your own computer.
Mm-mm.
It's not like there's a lot of protests.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. There was kind of conflicting accounts. A lot of people said he's super quiet, doesn't talk about politics. Other people were like, oh, he's just weird.
Yeah.
And then still other people were like, no, he was very political. He told me he didn't like certain things.
Yeah. Maybe it was person to person. Like if your dog's coming to my yard.
Right. If he felt comfortable, maybe.
Yeah.
So it probably just depended on the circumstance. But there were various people that had different accounts. And it may just simply point to the fact that his mental health was kind of going all over the place. There may be some days where he was more grounded, centered, like based in reality, and he could have, quote, normal interactions with people. Then there may be other days where his brain got the best of him and he was kind of like
telling people to do metal roofs and
right.
shit. Yeah.
And how shitty Obama was or whatnots.
Yeah.
So I think my theory is that that's a lot of what it had to do with is just where his head was at on that particular day.
Makes sense.
Public records show that he was charged with cruelty to animals again for an incident where he shot a dog. The charges were dropped when the investigation found that it was actually a pellet gun. But I think if you're going to shoot anything at an animal, that's fucked up.
What? Like,
yeah.
You're allowed
so I don't
to
know
shoot
how
dogs?
I don't know how that just got dropped. It doesn't make sense to me. It's still a gun.
You're still hurting an animal.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh my God.
He also had a run-in with his neighbor, Douglas Moore, who said that Robert had threatened bodily harm on him because Robert believed Douglas had pushed over his motorcycle. Robert called the police several times himself to make complaints against his neighbors. He said that his neighbors were a nuisance and had broken a water pipe from a well to his home. He also accused people of stealing a pickup truck, a refrigerator, and a microwave.
Where the fuck were you when your refrigerator and microwave went missing?
You had nowhere to go. You're
Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere.
And I thought your house is like padlocked up and...
Yeah, it makes no sense. So in 2015, Robert watched some videos that were put out by an anti-abortion organization. The Center for Medical Progress, or CMP, released several videos that they had secretly recorded in clinics and with doctors. Members of the CMP had pretended to work for this biotechnology company so that they could basically schedule meetings with abortion providers and clinics. So they recorded these meetings and they put them online. And a lot of the anti-abortion people, pro-lifers, latched on to them. And Robert was one of them.
Wouldn't stem cell research fall under the umbrella category of medical progress?
Exactly. This is very explainable. So the videos showed various doctors and clinics making deals to provide some tissue samples available to researchers, which is very normal practice. So technically it's all legal if done within the confines of the law, right? So, and especially with a greater medical purpose, you know? But the Center for Medical Progress asserted that the clinics were basically only just selling babies to the highest bidder. That's kind of the way that they presented it.
First off, they're peanut babies. I mean, like, what are you doing with them? You're not raising them. You're not doing, like...
Yeah, I
what
mean,
could they be doing but medical research?
It's really just medical samples. They're just tissue samples at that point. I mean, the procedure has already happened, you know, whatever. But the videos attracted really widespread media coverage. It was a big scandal. And they caused various groups and politicians to get really aggressive with their pro-life campaigns. So conservative congressional lawmakers singled out Planned Parenthood specifically and began to push for bills that would strip the organization of their federal family planning funding. Conservative politicians in several states have also used these videos as an opportunity to cut or, you know, alter their funding at a state level. So none of these attempts really became law, so they never really lost any of their funding. However, it was a big scandal at the time. And the way that it really is only because the way that they presented it was that they were flat out, quote, selling babies. I mean, that's like, the verbiage that they would use.
Come on, man.
Yeah. So investigation into the videos revealed that there was no evidence of wrongdoing. And all talk of handling medical samples and tissue were all completely legal. There was no tissue that was sold for profit or anything. It was all basically to help with testing.
You know, it'd be good if they took up human trafficking and the actual sale of children.
Right. There's
and
other
people.
Things that you can put all this energy into. Yeah. Additionally, it's worth noting that all of the videos were found to be altered in various ways. So, however, even though it was found that they were fucked with, the damage had already been done. The full media campaign had already affected the companies.
Kind of like what they did to the old Star Wars where they just put in the new CGIs.
Tried to pass that shit in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, even though there was no evidence that this had broken law, there was no evidence that, you know, they were doing anything terrible, it was still something that a lot of pro-lifers believed was true, that they were just selling for profit these, you know, innocent babies, basically.
So it was just there to stir the pot a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for, you know, people like Robert, they latch on to this.
It worked, yeah.
Yeah.
Now they have a cause. Now they're killing babies and selling babies. So.
Right. So you've got to, they're the enemy. You've got to retaliate.
Take them out, yeah. You have to fix that problem.
Right. So Roberts never really mentioned the specific videos by name or the CMP as an organization, but a lot of his statements indicate that he had seen the videos and they deeply affected him. So it was only a short time later that multiple people recall Robert asking where the nearest Planned Parenthood clinic is and asking other people directions to get there. Multiple people have this account of talking about it with him. So on November 27th, 2015, only 2 days after Thanksgiving, Robert headed to the Planned Parenthood clinic in Colorado Springs. He arrived at the clinic at 11:38 a.m., wearing a trench coat and a hunting cap and carrying a gun.
And he just got his STD test and went and left, right?
That was it. Yeah. He's all clear.
Hep free?
Your dick's all good.
Cool.
And then he went home.
Okay.
To fuck more people in the shack. Unfortunately, that's not how it went. So while he was still in the parking lot, he opened fire.
In the parking lot?
Yes. Like he just
damn.
started walking towards the clinic from his car, just spraying shots.
Honestly, sorry, just because that's everyone in a Planned Parenthood is already scared shitless.
Yes.
Like you're
It's such a
Pre-abortion.
vulnerable place to be.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
already just and not having a good time being there.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucked.
Yeah, it's already super stressful
Mhm.
and very emotional for everybody that's there.
Mm-hmm.
61-year-old Ozzie Liciano, who was dropping a friend off at the clinic, came under fire right outside the clinic doors. He told CNN, quote, "He just started shooting up the entryway. I saw him shoot up and down. I kind of lost it there. I tried to get out of my car and run, and he was looking directly at my face. He was aiming at my head. I could see it in his eyes, a stone cold face." Bullets destroyed Ozzie's windshield, which caused him some glass cuts, but none of the bullets hit him, thankfully. So as the shots started ringing out, staff inside the clinic said they heard the gunfire and they started moving people out of the waiting room and behind basically the locked doors into the offices area.
Good thinking.
Yeah. And I wonder if because they're working in that sort of industry that is so vulnerable, that they have some sort of plans.
Yeah, they
for
have
this
a
sort of
protocol.
situation. They
Yeah.
have to. Yeah. So Robert then burst through the clinic door and began shooting. People began calling 911 just before noon to report the shooting happening. As the first responders arrived and approached the building, Robert took aim and began shooting out into the parking lot at the first responders. The first 5 minutes, there was gunfire exchanged back and forth between him and the cops, but then it just kind of went silent. So Robert barricaded himself inside the clinic, causing a standoff that lasted for 5 hours.
Oh my goodness, dude.
Yeah.
And the people were still in the back?
The people were still in the back the whole time.
He's got to run out of ammo, right?
Right. Yeah. So the first 5 minutes was most of the shooting.
Okay.
And then that's when it just died out. And they just kind of stood there like in a literal standoff, just no shots or anything, just trying to negotiate or whatnot.
You know, we could just grab all the scalpels and medical tools around
Just
us.
run at him.
And I mean, you'd be too scared, but just thinking in hindsight, like you always think about what you would do,
Right.
but
A scalpel with like a rubber band so
Yeah.
you can kind of shoot it at him.
shoot it, yeah. Ooh,
Yeah. So the whole area went into lockdown, and anyone in the nearby businesses was there for 5 hours stuck as well, not really knowing what was going on outside. There was a grocery store and a chiropractor's office and a bunch of other businesses that were shut down for the rest of the 5 hours. Inside the clinic, people had made their way into different rooms, like
like the ultrasound spot, like the surgeon table or whatever, like the medical
right. They had
room.
made their way into the different areas of the clinic. So police rammed a truck into the building that broke a hole in the exterior wall. So some of the hostages were actually able to escape that were in the back office areas.
Thank God they didn't do more damage. You know what I mean? Like no hostages have been killed until they rammed the thing. Like
Right.
that could have been
Right, yeah.
a really bad outcome.
Law enforcement was able to monitor Robert's movement in real time because they used the security cameras that were inside the clinic. So, of course, it was very heavily secured,
Mm-hmm.
which is awesome because they got to actually see where he was, what he was doing.
Fantastic.
Yeah. For the last hour, Robert was stationary in one spot of the clinic. And the officers that were watching said it was extremely creepy. He didn't move at all. And the officers were just sitting there trying to come up with a plan to end the standoff, watching him just stand in one place. At 4:52 p.m., SWAT teams crashed armored vehicles into the lobby. Robert was quickly subdued and taken into custody.
I want to see that footage.
I know,
That would be
right?
so
Yeah,
cool.
I haven't seen it, but yeah. Then officers began searching the building and Robert's car, and they were, concerned that there was possible explosives or what if he wasn't acting alone, that kind of stuff. Multiple propane tanks were found near his car, and detectives believed that he had planned to shoot those tanks to trigger explosions, but somehow it just hadn't worked out. And it may have been that the police had blocked his car, not really knowing that that was his plan. 5 police officers and 4 civilians were injured in the attack, and 3 people were killed. Unfortunately, it's a situation where I have way more information about one of the victims than the others, like we've talked about. Just sometimes it's not available. But I found a little bit. The first victim was a mother of 2 named Jennifer Markovsky, who was actually accompanying her friend to the clinic that day. The second victim was 29-year-old former Fort Hood soldier Kiari Marcel Stewart. And he had been one of the first people injured. He had actually run back towards the clinic from the parking lot after he was shot. So he was one of the first people that was shot, and he went towards the door trying to warn the people that were inside.
Oh, man.
I know. And then the third victim was 44-year-old police veteran and part-time pastor named Garrett Swayze.
He killed a pastor?
Yes.
You see how counterproductive, just not,
I know.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. And so, he was a police officer and a pastor. He's just an upstanding member of his community. It just seems crazy. Yeah. So Garrett and his wife, Rachel, have a young son, Elijah, who was 10, and a daughter, Faith, who was 6 at the time. Before becoming a police officer, Garrett was also a former champion ice skater. When Robert was interviewed by detectives, he just basically ranted about abortion and politics. He was very nonsensical. He said things like, "no more baby parts," which seems to be in reference to the videos that we were talking about earlier. He exposed his misgivings about President Obama, prompting the Secret Service to dispatch agents to evaluate basically the validity of his threats. They weren't really sure at the time if there was any other sort of explosives put in place or any other plans, or if he was acting alone. Attorney General Loretta Lynch said in a statement that the shooting was, quote, "not only a crime against Colorado Springs community, but a crime against women receiving health care services at Planned Parenthood and law enforcement seeking to protect and serve, and other innocent people. It was also an assault on the rule of law and an attack on all Americans' right to safety and security." So President Obama, I'm just going to ruin this quote because nothing ever sounds as good coming out of my mouth as it does his, but President Obama said, "This is not normal. We can't let it become normal. If we truly care about this, if we're going to offer up our thoughts and prayers again, for God knows how many times, with a truly clean conscience, then we have to do something about the easy accessibility of weapons of war on our streets to people who have no business wielding them."
Yeah, because anybody with just a grievance or something can pick up a gun and just...
We make it too easy.
Yeah.
3 days after the shooting, Robert Louis Deere was charged with first-degree murder and ordered held without bond. Before court proceedings began, prosecutors requested that the court seal the documents related to the investigation, and the judge agreed to not make any of the information public.
For why?
To protect minor. No, I don't know.
Okay, that's what I thought.
No, I don't know. I don't know why I said that, honestly.
No, because there's weird laws like that, and I was just wondering, maybe it was like really gruesome, or maybe it was just something.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the reasoning was, but
maybe it would incite more it would rile up other fanatics.
Yeah, them a play-by-play of how to get away with things or whatnot.
Exactly. Yeah, that makes sense.
Possibly. At a December 9th court appearance, Robert repeatedly interrupted proceedings with multiple outbursts. At various points, he said things like, quote, "I am guilty. There's no trial. I'm a warrior for the babies. Protect the babies. Kill the babies. That's what Planned Parenthood does."
His lawyer was so pissed. He's like, "Shut up. Sit down."
Well, that's the other thing. He also accused his public defenders of conspiring with Planned Parenthood against him.
Totally.
Yeah. Robert said, quote, "You're not my lawyer. I will not meet with you again. I'm not going to agree to a mental health evaluation so they can put me on psychotropic drugs so I can talk like the Batman guy." And he was referring to the 2012 Aurora theater shooter, James Holmes.
Oh, I thought he meant like Batman. You know how he's like,
that's the first thing I thought. Yeah. I was like, yeah, that is a terrible voice. I wouldn't want that either. But no, yeah, he was talking about how James Holmes sounded really subdued.
He
and
did.
They clearly put him on meds and it changed his entire affect. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely needs it, probably.
Well,
right?
that's the thing. It's like, oh, so your voice is weird, but the trade-off is you're not a murderer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good compromise. So he said he wanted to be his own attorney, but he didn't enter a formal plea, even though he exclaimed that he's guilty and all that. And he didn't file any motions to act as his own counsel.
Definitely doesn't need drugs, psychotropic drugs.
Right. The judge ordered Robert to undergo a mental competency evaluation at a state mental hospital to, of course, determine whether he was competent to stand trial. The psych eval diagnosed Robert as having delusional disorder and persecutory type. In May 2016, the judge ruled that Robert was incompetent to stand trial. So the judge ordered that he indefinitely be held at a Colorado state mental hospital. In 2018, the case was brought before a judge again, and the court ruled that Robert remains incompetent to stand trial. So as of now, there's no progress. He is just kept in the mental health facility.
I'd like to think that they're really getting help at those places, but imagine being staffed. I mean, being part of the staff of those places too. You just want to get in and out of work, and it's like jail for them anyways. They're just given a little bit more care. I don't know what the main focus, because if you think someone's never going to be out in the public again, don't you think people are quick to be like, well, it's a lost cause?
They're basically giving up on him.
Giving up, yeah.
I would think that happens pretty often. Or just basically trying to get through day to day without giving too much effort into their job.
Totally. I'm not trying to blame anyone or anything, but I could see how it would be easy to slip into that because people are a lost cause. It's like some people are just bad. And so, or just some people just have issues. But I mean, because there has to be people like that, right? Where you're just like, we've done all we can do.
Right.
And you can't kill them. Yeah. So what do you do?
Yeah, I'm very skeptical of the difference that a regular mental health facility has versus one that provides this kind of care to only prisoners. You know?
A state or federally funded.
Yeah. And it's hard enough even going to like a county hospital and getting care. I mean, I've known people that have gone through the mental health care system in various ways where it's like really shitty care. Yeah. And they're paying for it.
Yeah, the nice ones.
Yes. So it's kind of like, if there were any opportunity for someone that was a murderer to get better and kind of get their mental health under control, I don't necessarily think it's happening at these prison facilities,
Yeah, because we don't get updates. Besides when people go up for parole or anything like that, we don't get updates.
You really don't know what's happening with them.
Totally.
They're just there indefinitely.
I didn't even think about the Aurora dude until you thought. But I mean, what if that guy's making tons of progress? people get on.
Though, you know how maybe like In Touch and People will do a thing like, where are they now?
Yeah.
We need that for murders.
Yeah, Jersey Shore does the same thing. Or it's like Real World. Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah,
Ew.
it's just the information isn't out there. I mean,
Bonus.
that in and of itself could be a bonus or a podcast or
Yeah,
whatever.
our
Just
podcast.
finding out like you don't really hear any information after they're sentenced. That's it.
And then,
Which is why it is one of the reasons why whenever there is something to be found, I don't know if you've noticed, but I always include it.
yeah.
I always look for something. If there's some bullshit about how they had a pet hamster in jail or they got their GED, I always include it just
Yeah.
because I think that, there's still, their life is going on. It's
Yeah.
very, I don't know.
You never hear about progress, and if we do, a lot of people don't care. A
Yeah.
lot of people are more mad that they get their GED.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, I think, very understandable.
Yeah.
I mean, the police officer Garrett is never his kids are never going to be able to have him walk them down the aisle
Yeah.
or like any of those experiences. So who the fuck cares about his
Totally.
GED,
Totally.
But so I don't know. He's still a human, so it's
Mhm.
like it's hard for me to reconcile in my own brain how I feel about those things. Yeah.
Are you excited for the new podcast that you just came up with?
Right. Where are they now?
Well, that was a good one, dude.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Z part 1.
I'm
The first part of the last letter. Of
z
the
z z z
season.
z z z z
Za,
z
za, 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 za.
z.
What are we doing?
I don't know. Ending the alphabet. So,
So,
Patreon? There's a
yeah.
Sam.
We wanted to thank our Patreon supporters for this week that are new. Melissa, Brittany, Emily, and Sam.
and Sam. Thanks, guys.
So thanks, guys. We appreciate you. And anything else that you want to announce?
You're going out of town, and that makes me happy, sad. So
I don't know how to feel. I'm happy, sad that you.
I'm just
said
kidding.
that.
I'm super happy. I hope you come back married.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, we're going to the serial killer burlesque show.
that's true.
Yes.
We are. I like titties and asses and serial killers.
And yep.
So if there's any pictures of that, I probably won't post them because I'd feel weird like taking pictures of some naked ladies and then posting them like without talking to them. But you guys can just know in your hearts that we had a really good time
Yeah.
watching a serial killer themed burlesque show next week.
Anna's gonna be there, so I'm pretty sure we'll talk to him because that girl walks
Make
up
some
to
friends.
Yeah, she's like friends.
I'm gonna make friends when I grow up someday.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna light up
We're
a
gonna
room
get
one
better
day.
at that. But I don't need any. I have you.
Yeah,
And every
exactly.
time I try and make a new friend, you get mad at me.
Rightly so.
It's true.
Yeah, you like listed off your friends that were coming, and I was like,
I just saw your eye twitch.
I
You
only
were like,
invited.
you can't have any friends. You can't invite them. I only have eyes for you.
Aww.
Everybody else is an acquaintance.
Yeah, totally.
It's you and me.
A for acquaintances, I'm gonna kill that are Brianna's sort of friends acquaintances. So I'm excited for that. But
Yeah.
besides that, no new news.
No new news? No
Yeah,
updates?
No new friends.
I think I can't really think of anything. I'll be in Vegas, but we'll still put on an episode.
Yep.
So that's it, right?
That was it. Are you ready to? You ready to Love Island or Murder Love Island? You got me on this, so
I know, I'm obsessed.
we could true crime and chill before, and then I'll, have me time. So
Is that what you call it? Me
yeah,
time?
me
DJ time?
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Cool. See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive number 1, number 2 employee. Leave a message at the... Hey, Jamie, it's me, Jamie. This is your daily pep talk. I know it's been rough going ever since people found out about your a cappella group, Mad Harmony, but you will bounce back. I mean, you're the guy always helping people find coverage options with the Name Your Price tool. It should be you giving me the pep talk. Now get out there, hit that high note, and take Mad Harmony all the way to nationals this year! Sorry, it's pitchy.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Let's say you just bought a house. Bad news is, you're one step closer to becoming your parents. You'll proudly mow the lawn. Ask if anybody noticed you mowed the lawn. Tell people to stay off the lawn. Compare it to your neighbor's lawn. And complain about having to mow the lawn again. Good news is, it's easy to bundle home and auto through Progressive and save on your car insurance, which, of course, will go right into the lawn. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, Affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.